All right, welcome back, everybody, to Podcast Professors. I am Podfessor Tom.
And I'm Podfessor Will.
And if you've been listening to this show, you know that things are not exactly how we hoped that they would be when we started. Our university is closed. We are not in the same, state, let alone the same office anymore. And things are generally crazy around us. However, there's always a way to turn your misery into happiness. And the way that you do that is the lesson that we will give to you today, which is how to sell out.
And if you don't know how to sell out, I mean, it's very easy. So we'll show you very quickly. So I don't anticipate this to be a long show.
That's
just
true.
Because I not that I've generally sold out, but I do have other engagements I gotta get to after this.
As do I.
Time.
We can't. You can't always make this
sure.
your whole life. So we'll be right back.
We'll
be right back, everybody. Podcast Professors. All right, and welcome back to Podcast Professors. I'm Podfessor Tom.
And I'm Podfessor Will. And Tom, we should really wrap this up as soon as possible.
I'm with you on that. I got plenty of things I'm doing. I got a laptop on my horse here, and it's not the best.
Your horse. Wait. Do you care to explain?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So,
is this some new sort of desk movement? I've heard of like the treadmill desk, the standing desk. Is this like a horse desk? What is?
Oh,
this?
yeah. I mean, it's a glute workout for the ages, but
sure.
If anything, it's classical, right? You think about all the old thinkers. They all pretty much had to ride on horse to get anywhere before there were the horseless carriages, as they called them. No. I'm up in Montana, and after the collapse of pretty much my entire life, I've had to find new ways to make money. My ranch, I had to sell it, and so the money, I didn't really get to keep much of it because I didn't have much of it in the first place. So I've paid off a substantial portion of my loans, and since then I've had to find new ways to generate revenue because with the closure of the university and then the collapse of my book deal, the money was a little scarce. But it turns out when you're up in the north, which is in Montana, Wyoming range, there's some problems that once again they harken back to the beginning of America. And once you take away all this over-regulation and all these, cities that have really developed with, electricity and infrastructure, you get to some classic problems and some classic opportunities. And in this case, a lot of the local towns are getting raided by banditos. And there's not always a hero, Will. There's not always a hero out there to stop the banditos and to get the money back from the raiders that are just roving around the fields on their horses as well. So I'm currently tracking down a large group of banditos in order to serve some justice and to reap my rewards.
So you're essentially sort of like a vigilante warrior out in the middle of Wyoming, apparently, sort of looking for banditos. Is that correct?
I wouldn't describe it quite that way. I'd say I'm a local hero, the magnificent one, you might say.
Well, I mean, according to whom? Is this like
one samurai, you might say?
Sure, yeah, the lone samurai of Wyoming.
Uno amigo, you might say.
Yeah, well, not that I judge anything that you tell me here, Podfessor Tom, but I would say that this is probably one of your more extreme adventures. I don't even know what happened to the bunker of about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone now. Rand
was
Paul...
that the banditos? Did they destroy the bunker? Did they pillage the bunker and sort of steal all of your apocalypse food?
It's a different kind of bandito, Will. It's the bandito that is the federal government in that case. I'm up here, though, where there is no government, and it's exhilarating.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Wow, that sounds...
Oh, they're shooting at me. They saw me. Hold on.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on 1 second, Will.
We no longer have a producer. So just tell him.
Got one. Got two.
Mute your audio.
Got three.
Sound indisposed.
I missed. Okay, hold on. All right.
It's a ricochet bullet, huh?
Yeah, hold on. It's a lot of focusing here. All right.
Sounds like you must be having a shootout in a rocky canyon of sorts.
It's, I'm trying to I haven't podcasted while doing a shootout very often, so, it's sort of, I'm getting used to the skill, but, all right, I got most of them. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no, take your time. It's fine. I'm sure that this is going to make it through the edits.
Okay, all right. I'm safe for a little bit here. All right. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, nothing. I just I got a new not to shift away from your situation there, but I I got a new au pair for the children. As you know, I have 8 kids, and I thought that custody would just be part-time, but I don't think that actually is the case now, seeing as I have the kids for 7 days of
Oh, dear.
the week.
Well,
So that's just been a whole whole load of fun. I got about 3 hours of sleep last night, so my academic days might even be behind me here.
the last time we talked, you were in
Henrietta, can you please? Okay, thank you. Yes.
you were in the
Sorry,
the
just,
opening.
you know.
I don't know if the opening act is the way that they generally say this, but you were in the beginning stages of your divorce, and so you've gone through the whole process, and they've already determined custody in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, I had a great attorney.
Jeez,
Where,
must
I
be.
mean, I was told that he was great. I just don't really. I'm just not seeing the greatness.
Well, he's
It's-
efficient, if not quite the result you wanted. He did get results pretty quickly. I mean, if the retainer is based in hours rather than a general sort of service fee, I imagine he saved you a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he did, but he also sort of cost me a lot of money when you think about childcare and just, I kind of want to strangle him. I'm not, saying that threateningly, but I would say that, I am now obligated to read something for the law firm because I told them I would advertise on this masterclass.
Oh,
So I'm just gonna get this out of the way
Can,
here.
can I
That's-
ask? I'm into curiosity. So it's
Sure.
about 3 weeks of work. What did the retainer look like? What was the payment situation?
I mean, it was a week by week payment system, and I will say that they did only use one day out of the last week for any sort of work.
So it's a Friday. So that's actually the opposite of how most systems work. Usually Friday's the relaxing day. You wear your jeans to the office. You're a little less engaged. But he did all of his work on Fridays.
Yeah, and Mondays apparently. So it was just such a pain to have to go into your lawyer's office Monday morning. Just ridiculous. But yeah, we pushed through pretty quickly. But the thing is, you and I didn't really know this, but why would I when I hired an expert? The thing is, you have to take your time with this. You don't really want fast results, and unfortunately, when you go for the fast results, you sort of get burned. So I will say that this was sort of not my attorney of choice. And I sort of begrudgingly do this ad, but Jeffrey, if you're out there, this is
this part of the ad?
part of our contract. Yeah. So let me just get through this ad here, if you don't mind. So, Kreuzenberg and Jeffries, attorneys at law. Have you ever felt?
Is Henrietta there? Can she talk to the kids? This is not great radio.
I'm so sorry. It's just the door opens. I hear this all the time in my head. So this is normal. Henry,
Oh, dear.
Hey, yeah. Can you grab
What are they doing?
little Timmy is literally standing on the island counter. Grab him. Grab him. Jesus. Okay. Sorry. I just I don't know what to do, Tom. I'm not equipped to handle 8 children, and I don't really know why I had all of them. You only need really 2.5 children to replace yourself.
Well,
and
it's surely two is all you need to replace yourself, right? What's the 0.5? That's
the 0.5 is just so that the occasional people have 3 kids, and they sort of keep the population increasing a bit. But
okay.
one's bound to maybe kick the bucket at some point, and I don't know. I'm telling you, Henrietta is even pulling her hair out every night, and it's very stressful.
At least
for
you
us.
have Henrietta by your side in your bed, there to help whenever you need.
Well, this is the 3rd au pair this month, Tom. They don't really, they sort of. Not that it's a honeypot situation, but of course everyone's what adorable little children, and then a week later it turns out that they never wanted this job in the first place. So
You're going through au pairs faster than lawyers over there.
I am, and pretty soon I'll be doing commercials for au pair firms.
All right, so I cut you off. Let's get through the ad. Or actually, no, your children cut you off. I didn't cut you off. What am I apologizing for?
No, don't apologize. It's fine. They're they have behavioral issues. So yeah, the ad doesn't really say that much. It just says that I'm legally obligated to mention Kreuzenberg and Jeffries, attorneys at law. And I did that, and I fulfilled my legal obligation. But, I'm glad you did bring up sort of ad reads. We have sort of some interesting news here, Tom. So our main sponsor for this show, did you get this memo?
Well, I'll say I don't have great internet out here in the hills of Montana.
No, sure, but can you check your email from Horseback?
Well, let's see. I think my phone plan is still active for a little bit longer here. Let me go up. Let me ride up this hill, because the higher you get, the better reception you get here. So hold on one second.
I've heard that Lakota Mobile Services actually provides quite good coverage in that area. So I'm not sure if you looked into that, but
whoa! Okay, let me check.
It's all caps. I did send it to you at some point earlier today. So sort of a big piece of news.
You know what?
I'm
Hold on.
disappointed we have to do this.
I was mad at you a couple weeks ago. I think I sent all your emails to my spam. So let me unblock you here. Give me 1 second.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, that's conducive to working productive.
Well, Will, I had a bad couple weeks there, so
I can understand. The loss of the bunker alone was probably just devastating beyond all.
Yeah, don't kick a man while he's down.
Yeah, no, don't kick a horse while it's in a trot. As the old expression goes.
Don't what is it? Punch a gift horse in the mouth. I've never done that.
You don't take a gift horse.
Every gift horse I've gotten, I've appreciated, and I'm happy to have the gift.
Well, let me tell you a story. I led a gift horse to a stream of water. I taught it to drink. No, I'm just. This is not even a real expression. But
all right, I found your email.
Have you checked your?
Okay, yeah, something about Paul. Paul's buying our ad space. What in the world?
Yeah, so Paul put in a bid for 95% of our ad space. So we're just gonna go ahead and indulge Paul. As you may or may not know, our dear listeners, our dear students, learners of the eternal flame of wisdom for which we hold. We're just passing along the information that Paul, our former producer, he is now currently sort of building his own podcast empire that has far superseded what we have laid out in place here. Don't get us wrong. We have a good amount of listeners for the show, but yeah, we're sort of lagging behind here now, Tom. And Paul has bought up all of our ad space as what appears can only be a sort of FU to his former employers.
We could tell from the first time we laid eyes on part of him. He was so big, it was like sitting in an IMAX screen. You can't really see the whole picture at once, right? But from
he was larger than life. I'll give him that.
From what I could see, I could tell this was not a good egg. This was an ungrateful, sort of sociopath who
rotten egg.
A rotten egg, yeah. And I am not surprised to see that he has found ways to manipulate his way to power. And I'm not surprised that he's vindictive. And, the fact that he has made a podcast empire that has survived longer than public universities as a basic institution, or it's survived while public institutions all went down into the trash can. It speaks to the destruction of our culture and the devolution, the disenlightenment that we're going through. Paul, in some ways, is the face and the body of the end of Western civilization. And I only say that because I know him. And other than that, I'm grateful that he's taking up some ad space because I desperately do need the money.
Despite your sort of Ben Shapiro type take there about him ending Western civilization, I do think that, I am grateful for the money. The paycheck is nice, and we don't have to sort of peddle to Amazon or, the larger companies to sort of buy our ad space. We just have it all paid for. So I guess essentially now we are just shills in Paul's media empire. So I'm really hoping he doesn't take sort of a dark course. You know, he sort of maybe perhaps sells his own media company to a billionaire or a special interest group. And then, you know, Tom, next thing you know, our masterclass here, which is truly, you know, an exploratory journey into the wonders of podcasting as a whole, sort of how to get to that extreme level of success. Our show will just be a mockery. And, you know, I'm sort of regretting that I'm saying this on air and not in a personal meeting between the two of us, but you know, you're incredibly hard to get a hold of in Wyoming, particularly. So,
well,
yeah, I just,
it's an occupational hazard.
I think our listeners will stick by us, but you know, I hope that the show doesn't change.
Well, I got a few things to say here. First of all, look, I am a hero up here to the local townsfolk. All right, there are people in these towns who they don't have electricity, they don't have modern conveniences like toilets, and I'm here to bring wisdom to them. I'm here to save them. I am the savior up here. And, you know, if that means that occasionally I miss a text or I miss an email, then so be it, because I'm bringing justice to the people up here in the North who don't have civilization, right? I'm bringing society here, and I'm bringing, you know, true American Wild West sort of values. And I think that's worth missing an email now and then. And so I sort of resent the fact that you make it sound like I'm up here just living out some little fantasy when I just killed 14 banditos. All right. So, you know, cool.
You know, I not to interject, you know, I'm happy your manifest destiny is sort of unfolding before you. And, you know, you're a hailed hero in these rural parts that are, I guess, not on the grid. But, you know, we do have a show to do here. So when you're not able to check your email, it's just incredibly, you know, it's just not professional. And I'm happy that you're sort of a local folk hero and sort of the Clint Eastwood of perhaps Wyoming and who knows, maybe Montana soon. But nobody really cares in sort of our listenership. And you know, that's where our paychecks are made. So, you know, I don't know how much money you have sort of squirreled away for the Bandito attack vigilante fund, but you know, perhaps you could just maybe check your email.
Well, I did. I'll remind you, I just rode up a very large hill. I'm, you know, I've exposed myself to a lot of the banditos of lower ground. So, I mean, I, in one sense, have the higher ground, which is good. My visibility is okay, but I don't have eyes.
Wouldn't that be sort of a vantage point, though? And in a way, I sort of did you a favor because now you can sort of see.
I'm trying to talk, though. You know, I'm not trying to do the action. You know, it was an inconvenience when I had to kill a couple banditos 10 minutes ago, and I'm trying to just talk to you. So actually, what I really would like to do is hide in a little wooded area, but then I don't have email access. So you know, I can't please everybody, Will.
Yeah, well, you know, let's just put this behind us, I suppose, and get back to it. But I do want to say our theme for the week here, and you would have known this had you sort of rode out of the wooded area and checked your email.
You know what? I'm going to ride back into the wooded area.
Lord knows if you're even going to sort of know this. Yeah, no, please get to safety. You know, we don't want another shootout. But yeah, the theme of the show here, how to sell out. So this is kind of an important topic for us here. We're not sellouts by nature. At least I don't consider myself one. I can't really speak for you. Sort of being a shill for these villagers in Wyoming. But I would say that, you know, I'm not by nature a sellout, and I do find this uncomfortable, but you know, we're here to impart knowledge, Tom, and sometimes, you know, knowledge is uncomfortable. And, you know, we're just here to distribute the knowledge.
Well, and, you know, I would say I've met a lot of knowledgeable people in my time in academia. I've hosted some podcasts with knowledgeable people in the past, and that's been a great experience for me. I've loved having the chance to talk to a knowledgeable person. And I hope to do it again at some point in the future. I do miss it. But Paul was not one of the knowledgeable people. And to see on Facebook his Buckaroo Banzai empire, they've built podcast studios in the ocean. Have you seen these pictures? It's a little evil lair for this man. He's rich
Wow.
enough. He's developed on the ocean floor. I think only because it looks cool. But that means he's had to put lights up all over the ocean floor. He's probably displaced like 4 coral reefs, and it's just so decadent and so opulent and all the other ents. And it's just like, Paul, most people just they put a table and a mic in their garage. You got to develop the ocean floor. What is happening to our world, Will?
Well, nothing good, Tom. That certainly sounds like something a GI Joe villain might do.
I know.
Sort of building an underwater empire, as if a podcast empire wasn't enough. He now has to sort of displace ocean populations, and yeah, well, all the best to him. If he bleaches a bunch of reefs, I'm sure he'll get no blowback. But I don't understand the motive for this, Tom. Paul, 2 months ago, he's a guy walking into my house, stealing my Hot Pockets out of my freezer, and now he's sort of an evil Lex Luthor type. I don't understand it. Was he sort of hiding this persona from us the entire time, or I just sort of feel like we were used in a way that we didn't really understand. And I'm happy to do a show about selling out, but it sounds like maybe the best example of a sellout is Paul, and I'd say that with all the respect and peace and love. I happily take his sponsorship money, so I don't say that disparagingly.
I'll say it disparagingly, because part of selling out.
Well, I don't know about. I mean, Tom, I wouldn't necessarily. I have 8 children, so I need to provide for them desperately. So
all right.
please,
let's just do an ad read for one of these Paul things.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Do you have the ad read in front of you, or do you still need email?
Let me dig through my leather pouch.
I
here.
think I sent a carrier pigeon with a message about a week ago, so he should be flying in at any moment now.
Okay, got a lot of papers in my pocket. Give me a second here.
A lot of wanted posters you got to sort of
I do
filter
actually.
through.
Yeah, there's like let me put a pin through some of those guys I just got, those banditos. I got to go pick up the bodies a little bit later, but
Sure, yeah.
All right, so
Well, in today's day and age, surely you just sort of take a picture, right? You don't need to carry the body.
well, who am I going to send it to? They don't even have electricity in these places. I'm off the grid here. This is a whole society. It's like Galt's Gulch, but not particularly innovative.
Wow. You're sort of living amongst the Pennsylvania Dutch, but with email.
It is
fascinating.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a great way to live. It's a great way to really celebrate America by rejecting the entire history of the country that developed.
Well, I think sort of the idea that anything beyond 1885 was unnecessary. That sort of leaves out about 98% of American innovation. But I agree with it. I think that 2% is all you really need. There's not much beyond that.
It's just liberal identity politics after 1840. So
it is. It's all just neoliberal thought process and sort of faux caring.
And the only innovation that was worth it was the podcast, to be frank.
Well, of course, and that's why our expertise extends to this. And so, therefore, we shall read the ad here. As we do in sort of a professional medium, and you'll notice this is a very smooth transition. So, Tom, speaking of ads, apparently we have some for this week. Is that correct?
Yes. So, Buckaroo Podzai is an independent podcast and radio show empire founded.
Well, that sounds fascinating. Sorry, this is sort of interactive ad read. Tell me more.
Well, it's it was founded and run out of the depths of the amateur podcast professors Tom and Will. Why is that in there? What?
Wait a second. Is this sort of like an FU from Paul? I don't understand this. He sort of makes us disparage ourselves on our own
Paul Thorne learned from the mistakes of the professional podcasters around him, who taught him nothing valuable other than failure is easy.
Wow. Sorry. I see there's another line I'm supposed to read. and this just makes me want to throw up in my mouth, but let me just get through it here. What mistakes did they learn? What mistakes did they make that Paul actually learned from, Tom?
There's a large
Yikes.
list that I don't particularly want to read because they get fairly personal.
Are we legally obligated to read this? Can we just sort of
I don't
move
know.
on?
I think generally that. So what happens usually? This is a little inside baseball for our audience, but usually your ad read is broken up into the mandatory read and the optional read. Now there is no distinction here, and I'm looking through about 60 pages of the ad read, which surely he doesn't want us to read 60 pages, right?
I mean, that's a whole constitution.
And we got, I think the deal we work out usually with our sponsors is we get about $15 for every 1,000 downloads. But is that worth? I mean, this is going to take me an hour to read all of this. I don't have that kind of time. Look, all right, the gist of it. That jerk Paul has started a podcast empire, which is currently developing the ocean floors. And it has all kinds of podcasts that you can listen to, including Paul's Pop Culture Hour, which, I never listened to it, but, I've heard people talk with food in their mouths, at food courts throughout my life. And I don't know about you, but I've been around Paul, and I guess I haven't ever thought, I really want to listen to pieces of pepperoni being chewed over the sounds of pop culture reactions. But, nevertheless, if that appeals to you, go ahead and listen to the Paul Pop Culture Hour, and go ahead and subscribe to Buckaroo Podzai, which now has 3,000 How does he have three? He had like 4 last week. He has 3,000 podcast options for you.
Tom, I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, but it says that every week there's 1.2 million downloads as of the past 3.5 weeks. Wait, you're telling me this guy built a multi-million download empire, and we are these bots, Tom? These are surely he's bought and sold probably some good quality Korean bots, and he's just flooding his social media. And
his office almost floods every time he adds a new wing to it.
Is that some sort of?
It's a pod. Sorry,
okay.
Sorry, it's not real. I don't think. Although surely when you're developing in the ocean, that's got to be difficult. You got all kinds of airlocks you have to deal with. It sounds very science fiction, which is Paul and I in some ways gone opposite directions. Whereas I've embraced the past, he is embracing the comic book future. I'm on Horse, and he is in an evil underground lair, it's an interesting development. And I think when we think about the archetypes of human stories, if I'm allowed to get academic again, what am I boring you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was muted.
I still have there may be a Magnificent Seven-esque Clint Eastwood Man with No Name in me, but there is also a Professor Emeritus in me as well. And
quick question for you: do you have a horse with no name, or do you actually have a?
This is it's a secret you don't really want to talk about. But when you get into gunfights a lot, the horses don't last that long. So I found it's best not to name them.
Really?
Yikes. Yeah, it's a pretty rough time out here, and so
you could just sort of name them all the same thing. Rusty.
Yeah, Rusty. Okay, accepted. His name is Rusty.
Whatever.
Anyway, Paul is. I don't understand his success. Although I've spent my entire life studying cultural trends, and you would have thought in the decades of academia that I would understand how to appeal to an audience the way that Paul has apparently figured out inherently. Paul, who couldn't appeal to an audience of 2, you and I, has apparently gotten millions of people on board, and I don't know how to explain it, but I do know this much. when the times are tough, you got to sell out because otherwise you can't put food on the table or, in my case, on the ground for your horse, newly named Rusty.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I meant to say. All artists sell out at some point. I'm not particularly fond of it, but I will say even the greats, they've sold out. Michelangelo, painting the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
That was not something he wanted to do.
Corporate.
He just needed a paycheck. It was very corporate type of environment from what I understand. And, he even sort of had an evil employer, sort of a patron of the arts that was more successful as sort of a pope figure. I think you would say that maybe he had more power at his disposal. But, these powerful sort of dominating, world dominating types, they do have a weakness in that they can't create good art. They sort of need the foot soldiers, the creative types, the knowledgeable ones. They need them to create the good art. And so sort of this podcast being incorporated into Paul's empire is sort of, maybe the crown jewel of his podcast empire.
Wait. Are we
in that?
Did he offer to take on our show?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the ad read is. It's a slow buyout. I'm assuming.
I didn't get to page, 45 out of the ad read. I just sort of got tired of it. So
no, that was just one of the 4 emails that I sent. Only just 4 emails this week, by the way, and none of them
4's a lot, Will.
Acknowledged. But, it's neither here nor there nor anywhere.
It's certainly not out here in Wyoming. I'll tell you that much.
It's certainly not there. Yeah, we can definitely agree that it is definitely not there. And you know what, Henrietta, can you get that? Yeah, no, right now, please. I'm sorry. It's just they say that French au pairs are the best with kids. I don't know why that stereotype originated, but
I could make a guess, and it doesn't have much to do with childcare.
Yeah, no, I think that the implication was that they wouldn't really be doing any of that,
right? Yeah,
and but the thing is, I hired Henrietta, from a rural village right outside of Paris, thinking, oh, this is great, I'll have somebody to look after my kids. And she comes here. She's just on her phone the whole time. I got to look after the kids most of the time. I don't, I just, I'm not cut out for parenting, Tom. I don't know how to do this. So
can you
this
ask
is a new
Henrietta,
journey for all of us.
This town in France, are there many banditos over there? Do they need a hero?
Henrietta, do they, je ne sais quoi, banditos? Yeah, villains.
Oui.
Villeneuve. Is that? I don't know. That's probably something in French. Anyways, she's sort of nodding her head. So yeah, maybe, Tom. Maybe there's a future for you there. Possibly.
Well,
but if Wyoming doesn't pan out, and maybe you shoot a local and sort of accidentally turn into a folk villain, then perhaps France is the right place for you.
That's good to know. Oh, I'm seeing a new ad read here that it was in the back of the packet that I had printed out. Okay, so have you ever wondered how to put together a podcast? I think this is an ad read for us. Let me look at this here. Have you ever wondered how to put together a podcast? There are all kinds of losers out there trying to sell you a masterclass in putting together a podcast. For example, Podfessors Tom and Podfessor Will of Podcast Professors.
Okay, you could just cut it off right there.
A complete
I think
trash show that offers no insight other
Tom,
than
please.
how to make yourself more
Please.
pathetic. Okay, let me skip a little bit. Maybe it turns around. Maybe it's like a joke. He's like, just kidding.
Just go to the last paragraph, and if it gets worse, then
What you should subscribe to instead is How to Make a Podcast with Paul Thorne, the new show that teaches you the basics of podcasting and how to make a successful podcast empire of your own. Available wherever you get podcasts. Paul's copying us. Not only is he insulting us, he's taking our job. And we just
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be reading many more of those, but I do have another sponsor here. I just have to get through this.
Okay.
Thankfully, this is outside of, Pod's Eye
Yeah, whatever.
Bonanza.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever it's called. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I have a couple of kids, as I might have mentioned here, and we got to make sure we pay all those bills. So this is a ad for a caffeinated nasal spray. So here it goes. Cocoa Coffee. Have you ever wanted to drink a large cup of coffee, but you just can't handle that jittery caffeine rush? Well, look no further. This nasal spray offering represents an entirely new bioavailable way of absorbing caffeine into your bloodstream. Simply put the nasal spray up into the nasal cavity. Okay, that sounds easy enough. Spray 3 to 4 little pumps and take a big sniff. Sorry, it's
Snort?
It's spelled schneef. Take a big schneef. All right. Well, yeah, take a big sniff. The hyper caffeinated nasal spray residue will drip back to the nasal drip, thus caffeinating your body, soul, mind, and spirit. No more of those jittery caffeine crashes where you feel energetic as heck one moment and the next moment you feel as though you could sleep for 1,000 years. No more of that awful hangover after lunch where you simply just need another cup of coffee. Just 2 or 3 quick nasal pumps from the Cocoa Coffee product and you will be right back on your feet. So, yeah, this is a new product here.
I got a question for you. If
Yeah.
I mean, out in the wilds of Wyoming, there aren't a whole lot of Walgreens where I
Sure.
assume you might buy the nasal spray. But I mean, what there are a lot of places where you can get coffee beans. If I wanted to get the benefit of nasal spray, but I didn't have it, could I take some ground coffee beans, maybe make a little line of it with a credit card, and then when I take one of the dollars that's given to me when I bring back a bandito's dead body, could I just snort some of the coffee beans?
Yeah. Well, great question, I would say.
It's a
But,
universal
I don't
question. I think
it's-
we're all wondering it. Will give me an answer for not just for me, but for everybody who maybe is in a similar situation as they listen.
Yes, yeah, an answer for the multitudes wondering about this specific question. Well, it's a hell of a good question. I'll say that. I would say that, personally, I wouldn't do that just because it sounds
Because you're a
very
lame
uncomfortable.
professor. You're
No,
not.
I think it more so has to do with sort of the bioavailability. It's not going to be absorbed. You're not going to get any of the caffeine. You're just going to get sort of like an agitated nasal canyon. Whereas with the Cocoa Coffee product, it's all just, it may as well just be, snot. It may as well just be saliva. It's just, it's a sort of liquidy substance that just gets schneefed right up into your nasal cavity. It's a beautiful product. It's bioavailable, so it absorbs straight into your bloodstream. Whereas with the coffee, might be a little bit more abrasive. Perhaps
More
you
manly.
can get some cuts,
more
and
masculine.
scrapes.
You know,
Yeah, maybe, perhaps so. Yeah, but what's
I'm a man's
more
man
masculine?
now, Will.
Sort of boiling water in a tin pan for coffee over like a bonfire, or cutting up a coffee line as though you're some sort of weird caffeine addict for a non-usable form of caffeine. It's a simple choice.
It is a simple choice with a simple answer. So thank you for that. Now, I think we've given a good lesson to our loyal listeners, and I thank our some of our sponsors today. I do doubt that Paul has a whole lot of insight into how to successfully make a podcast because, as we've established, he doesn't have a degree in this. He's a neophyte amateur.
He's sort of, I guess you could say, the unsuccessful Quentin Tarantino of his industry. He was a simple producer not to say he was a simp himself, like a simple person, but, he was a very meager producer, pushing buttons, sort of clicking things. Those were his skill sets.
Though he was not meager in other respects necessarily.
No, he was not meager in his sort of, lunch allotment from my fridge, I would say. There was just boxes of Hot Pockets. I used to buy them. I don't even eat them anymore. Sort of changed
like
my ways.
in the Clockwork Orange, when Alex, the main character, when he hears Beethoven and it makes him want to throw up, he associates all of the horrors of what he's forced to watch when they try to rehabilitate him. I have a similar reaction now to the concept of Hot Pockets. Having video conferenced in a few times and watched Paul, schneef some Hot Pockets or whatever he was doing. Yeah, it's just the same way that the criminal felt like he had complete nausea every time he thought about criminality. Now it's just when I conceptualize any kind of Hot Pocket consumption, I have to go empty my stomach.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was watching some Jim Gaffigan special with Henrietta the other night, and thankfully the kids were all asleep and just resting peacefully. And we're watching this Jim Gaffigan special, and he starts making a bunch of Hot Pocket jokes. And I said, Henrietta, I have to go to the bathroom. And I was in there for about 25 minutes. So I will say, don't watch Jim Gaffigan if you're a non-Hot Pocket user. So just a little word for the wise, and a free little tidbit. We're going to start doing this. It's sort of Podfessor tidbits, and these are things outside of the Podfessor world that are just sort of general helpful tips. So another Podfessor tidbit for you here: reusable diapers are bull.
It sounds like your kids are screaming again. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I don't. Look, I should probably get going here. I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm moving out of the. I think I see some banditos. So okay, this. It's probably a good time for us to end the show a little early.
I can't tell if that's the whooping and hollering of a couple of groups of banditos, or maybe that's my own kids in the other room here. Gosh. Look,
we have the answers, everybody. You gotta deal with some of these technical difficulties, some of the the loud noises around us, and it's there's a lot of wisdom here that I think maybe gets underplayed.
Well, Tom, you're definitely not going to get a rose without some thorns, and I would say that our knowledge, we're not completely available all the time, particularly in a pandemic. And if that's a problem for people, I'm sorry about it. I'm just incredibly sorry, but there's nothing we can do about it. So that's just sort of how the show is going to be from now on. And another thing too. I don't know if we're actually going to join the Buckaroo Podzai Empire. We'll have to see about that. I feel like maybe their ad reads are a little too malicious in their intention. So
we got to do what we got to do, and if that means selling out, that means selling out, and that's the ultimate lesson for today. So I think that's a good note for us to wrap it up on.
Well, you heard it right there, and
don't worry about integrity. Worry about paying the rent.
Exactly. These are difficult times, and not everybody can do what they want to do, right? So just do whatever you got to do to pull through. And, if that means trying to find a way to take care of 6 to 8 children and raise them at the same time, then that's what you got to do. If that means you're in Wyoming sort of shooting at people from horseback, then that's what you got to do as well. So, life has its own strange callings, and we're just here to sort of show you the way. So Thanks for sitting with us.
All right. Have a good week, everybody. We'll be back next week on the only real legitimate Podcast Professor show, the only place to get the real tips to figure out how to start your podcast and to make it succeed.
A masterclass in how to be the ultimate podfessor of your own choice, and how to absolutely succeed in this industry without even trying. Thanks again, folks.